Hi Vijay, my name
Hi,
is
hi,
Shiv,
hi, Shiv.
and I'll be working with you on this Fuse Camel training.
Or
I'm working with Fuse Camel for over 5+ years and on Fuse 3+years. And my main work is doing system integration using Fuse and Apache Camel. And I work as a solution architect. So if you can let me quickly know about yourself and what is your expectation from this training, it will be helpful for me to discuss.
for me, especially, I'm expecting a project that need to be implemented in a JBoss Fuse. Well, the application, different applications are trying to connect JBoss Fuse, and we are new to the Fuse. I didn't have any much experience. I have only the pure Java experience and a little bit with SOAP,
Web services.
yeah, web service experience. Not that much, but morely I'm a C++ core developer. So so Java is not an issue at all. How I do the all the data types and all this kind of thing. But the service involved in the services so that I can start my career in and let it go with the different directions with the latest technologies. That's all I have.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So you're comfortable in Java and you have worked, you have exposure to Spring as well?
See, I worked on web services, pure Java core, Java little bit, which web service connects to the C++ server with using the tuxedo. That's all it is. Like take the response and take the request and send it out the response.
Okay. Right.
And related to that, it's the same web services I'm expecting to get up as a request here, but I want to implement in the JFuse.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
JBoss Fuse, yep.
Okay. So I'll quickly explain you what are Fuse, what are the different components used in Fuse, what is the role of Camel in Fuse, and what are the things we'll cover during the sessions, so that it will give you some idea that what we're going to do in next few days. So basically, JBoss Fuse is an enterprise service bus, ESB. And as an ESB, it is made up of multiple open source components. So there are multiple enterprise service bus available in the market, and JBoss Fuse is one of them. And it is primarily using open source architecture, and it is using open source component for the all the components of ESB. So it has Apache Camel for routing and mediation. It is using Apache ActiveMQ for message broker. It is using Apache CXF for web services. It is using Apache Karaf as the OSGi runtime support. It is using Spring and for the dependency injections or IOC. And it has support for multiple third-party libraries for doing other different activities.
Yeah.
So basically, it is a collection of all third-party or open source APIs or frameworks, and it is providing the enterprise service bus. So basically, at the core of it, sorry.
Hello.
Yeah, you were saying something, Vijay?
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. If you are asking for something.
No, nothing like that.
Okay. So basically, it is using Apache Camel in the core of JBoss Fuse to do the routing and mediation. So routing and mediation is you write some integration logic and then do the integration. So Apache Camel is used for that purpose. So Apache Camel is not enterprise service bus, but it is the integration framework. So it provides you some components, some patterns, some logic, some languages, some expressions through which you can write your integration logic. So you can use Apache Camel independently also, but in case of Fuse, it is the main component which will take care of your integration work. Also, many times we need a messaging broker. We need a JMS broker for queues and topics. So ActiveMQ or Apache ActiveMQ is the default messaging broker of Fuse. So basically, apart from providing these features, JBoss Fuse also gives you a flexibility where you can do monitoring of the system, you can do troubleshooting, live debugging, and you can do orchestration. All these things are provided as part of ESB. So it gives you a nice console through which you can see the status of all the applications. You can see what are the routes running. If you are using the message broker, you can see what are the queues and topics are available, who are using them, why messages are pending. You can see the logs. You can connect to the application and see how many applications are running at the moment, how many of them failed during the deployment. All those things we can do. So all those things are provided by Fuse. So basically, Fuse, you can how we are going to use Fuse. So first of all, we need to download the package from the Red Hat site, and then we need to unzip it and use it. So if you're using on Windows, you can install in the Windows service. If you are going to use it on Linux or Unix or other flavors, then accordingly we have to install it. So in our examples, we'll be using it on Windows, and we'll see some classes to do the installation and configuration of JBoss Fuse first, so that we know that if I have to do the deployment tomorrow in some environment, how can I do that? So we'll try to deploy and configure the Fuse in our local environment. I will also go through some of the useful files inside the Fuse to understand how it is organized, how it is taking care of deploying the application, how it is taking care of various modules and features inside Fuse. What are the various ports and other configuration that you want to change from one environment to another environment. So all those things will take care. As you have worked in Java, you will be using some server to deploy the applications, right? You might be using Tomcat or JBoss CAP or some other application server. So these servers, traditional application servers, are J2E servers, Java 2 Enterprise Edition servers. JBoss Fuse is an OSGi server. What is OSGi is? It's an open source initiative where it explains what are the modular concepts in deployment. So OSGi is basically open source gateway initiative, and it tells about modularization. So modularization is nothing new in Java. We use packages, we have access modifiers, and we build our applications and then deploy it. So suppose that I want to deploy an application in Tomcat. So normally what I do, I will write in my application, I'll using some tool like maven, I'll build application, I'll get a jar file, and then using some other tool of even maven, I can combine all the application jars and all the other required dependencies, and then I'll build a war file. That war file I will deploy in Tomcat, and my application will be available. So in this case, what is happening is when you are deploying your application, you are also carrying the dependencies of your application along with you, and you need to be careful in the case that your application needs version 1.0 of the dependency. You have to copy that jar. If you improve your application and need 1.1 of another dependency, then you need to carry that jar. So each time you deploy your application, make some changes, and if there is change in dependency, then you have to carry the relevant jars with you and then do the deployment. So it creates a problem. If you don't have the right dependency with you, then your application will not be able to deploy properly. Or if I am also using a similar jar, then I am also copying the jar in my different war files. So multiple class paths are getting created. So traditional application deployment has some shortfalls where dependencies of an application are not clearly defined. So OSGi tries to take care of that situation where you clearly define the dependencies of your application, and then you don't carry those dependencies along with you. You just say these are my dependencies, and those dependencies will be resolved by Fuse server. So Fuse will be taking care of your third-party dependencies. I need a Camel core jar, or I need some common land jar, or I need some Hibernate jar, or I need any web service jar. So all those things I don't need to copy along with my application. I just tell Fuse that these are my dependencies. It will be resolved by Fuse. So your application becomes lightweight and it is more exclusive in terms of specifying the dependencies and services. So we'll see quickly in the session like what is the difference between a normal application and an OSGi application. What are the advantages of using it? Now coming on the Camel, we'll be focusing more on Camel because this is the layer which is doing the integration for us. So basically Camel, as I said, it is an integration framework, and in this integration framework you can write your application logic, integration logic. Like suppose that for example you get a task that you need to read a file from some FTP location, and then it's an XML file, you need to read it from the FTP location and then validate the XML against some schema, and then send a message to a broker. So that is the application I have to build. So if I have to build an application in a normal Java way, then what I'll be doing, I'll be writing a utility class that will connect to a FTP, load the file, and then give me the file. And then after that, I may have some utility method to do the validation of the message against some XSD. Then when the XSD is validated, I may write another utility class or method that will connect to a broker and send a message to the broker. In case of Camel, we don't have to write these utilities to connect to the real world entities. So Camel provides you built-in standards component. Using these components, we can connect to any external entity like file, FTP, web service, JMS, database, and many more. So there are like close to 200 components which are provided by Camel to use in your integration logic, where you want to, whenever you want to connect to any real world interface. So if you have to connect to a web service, you don't have to write a utility. You can use the component provided by Camel to do the connection part. You configure it to connect to a particular web service and provide all the details. If I want to connect to a broker, JMS broker, I don't need to write a class to do that. I have a JMS component with Camel. I just need to configure it. So that configuration you can do inside the Camel. So basically, the idea of Camel is I don't have to focus more on the connection part, where I need to know how to connect to this endpoint or how to connect to this file or web service. The focus should be more on doing the integration, the business logic one. Like after you get the data, what you want to do? Do you want to validate it? Do you want to change from one format to another format? Do you want to add some data into it, or you want to remove some data from it? And then you decide where you want to send it. So Camel provides you ready-made components which we can use to reduce our coding. Camel also provides a lot of enterprise integration patterns, EIPs. You'll hear this term a lot. So these EIPs are like, for example, after I get the data from database, suppose that I'm running a query, select star from student, and it gives me 50 records. So after I get the record from database, my job is to split all these records one by one, and then do some processing on top of it. So in case of normal Java application, what I'll be doing, I'll be writing a client which will connect to database, pull all the records, and then iterate over the records, and then give one record out, and then do some processing on top of it. So it's a standard problem. You have a set of data which you want to split and process. So Camel provides a pattern called split. So in this pattern, you don't have to write any code. You just call the pattern, use the pattern, and give the data input to it, and then tell it how to split it. Do you want to split one record at a time? Do you want to split 5 records at a time? Do you want to split based on some conditions? Those things we can configure and use it. Like that, Camel provides a lot of other patterns. So we'll, as part of discussions and training, we'll also go through the enterprise integration pattern, which we will be using in our integration logic to make it work fast. Also, Camel provides very good exception handling. So normally, Java applications without exception, your code will not be complete. So we need to write some very good. Integration logic, and then we also need to write some very good exception handling policies to ensure that if any exception is thrown, then we are able to handle it properly. So Camel has a very robust exception handling mechanism, and it has multiple ways to do the exception handling. we'll see during discussions. Also, Camel provides support for doing some unit testing and debugging. We'll also go through the unit testing and debugging part of Camel so that when I write my integration logic, I should also be able to unit test it and debug it in case there is a problem. Camel also has support for live debugging using the Fuse consoles, so we'll see that part also. Now, we know that we can write logic in Camel and then do the integration and then deploy it in Fuse to do the integration. You may be asking, like, in what language you will be writing this integration logic. So Camel provides support for multiple ways through which you can write your integration logic. In terms of Camel, these are called domain-specific language (DSLs). So using Camel has support for multiple DSL, and using any one of the DSL, you can write the integration logic. So what are the DSLs we can use? So we can use write our integration logic in Spring. Many people are familiar with the Spring, and it is easy to use. It looks intuitive, and IDEs have support for it. So people use Spring to write the integration logic. So in the Spring, you will write your routes, and you will write your components. You will create your components. You will write your EIPs and do the integration. If you are comfortable in Java, then Camel also has support for Java-like DSL. Java is like a Java-looking DSL. It is called Java DSL. Camel also has support for Groovy DSL. Camel also in Camel you can also write routes in Blueprint. So Blueprint is also XML-like, Spring-like language, but it is more optimized to run in OSGi environment. So multiple ways are there. In our examples, we'll use Spring primarily, but we'll also see some examples in Java DSL, and we'll also see some examples in Blueprint DSL. So that we are aware that what are the various ways to compare. But performance-wise, there is not difference, not much difference. If you write your route in Spring or Java or Blueprint or Groovy, all of them are equally fast, and all the features of Camel are equally available in all the DSLs. It's more like a choice, like I want to write in Spring because I have worked in Spring earlier and I am familiar with the Spring things. So I'll write it in the Spring. But we have the IDs, Eclipse-based ID that you will be writing using for your routes. So intelligence is available. You don't need to remember anything, but you need to know the basics of how to write it out. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I mean, as you're saying that you can develop the application using the Blueprint and Spring, and right, it's a different way of approaching the developing the thing. Yes. In Camel, the integration part.
Yes, yes.
So depending on the people comfortability, they can do it the Spring thing in Camel too.
Yes, yes.
Okay, the Blueprint itself is altogether a new in the Camel, or?
Yeah. I mean, so basically Blueprint is a new thing in Camel. It came after the Camel was deployed on OSGi servers.
Okay.
So
okay.
So it is more. Spring is there for very long time, and Blueprint is recently introduced, like 3 years back. And why it is required is because once you run in a new environment, a new server, you may want to explore or exploit the advantages provided by server. So Blueprint is more optimized to run in OSGi because you can OSGi provides some services, and those services you can easily access in Blueprint with very less configuration. Same thing you can do with the Spring also, but you may need to write another one line to access those services. But Blueprint is like built on top of OSGi. So it is more.
Do I need to have a knowledge on the Spring because I don't have it? But do I need to go through the?
No, it's, you don't need to become an expert in Spring. Basic information is required, and it is very simple to use. So that's what I can say.
And the see, as I understand, you said Camel and broker. The broker one which you go out for the the request go out to the some other person, right? Or return back the response or something like that. I don't till I was not able to get it. But what is the difference between getting having a camel, like because broker does the same thing, because I have experience with Corba thing. That's what broker says. Like once you get the request, depending on the interface exposed to, and VC broker is the one which takes a request and pass it on the response. What is the camel and the broker difference between, like broker is the only one which gives out into the MQ series or something, MQ.
Yeah. So basically, when you compare Camel with any middleware broker like Corba, so in middleware normally we expose interfaces where we'll be accepting some input and providing some output, correct?
Yeah. The VC broker does the same thing. Yep.
Yeah, but in Camel you have much more than that. You also expose interfaces, but you also write the logic how to get data from those interfaces. And before calling the external interface, if you need to convert from one format to another format, how to do that? All those things we do in Camel. So, for example, let's take just a quick example. Suppose that I have system A, okay, and then I have system B. So system A sends me data in, let's say, comma separated value CSV, okay, and system B only accepts XML.
Okay.
So system A will be sending in CSV. System B only accepts XML, and now you have to integrate these two systems. So you need to define an interface with these two systems. And that interface we can define using Camel, but the data format which is coming from the system is different what is expected on the other system. So we need to ensure that. Yeah.
I mean, as I understand, left hand is a CSV format, and I need to hand it over to the XML as a right hand side, or other application.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we'll be defining an interface here, and which will read from the CSV. Then so input is CSV in this interface. Output is XML. Then we need to do some transformation, right? We cannot just convert a CSV to XML directly. So we can use Camel to do the transformation. So we have to do the conversion between CSV to XML. So Camel provides you APIs, and Camel provides you components through which we can do the conversion. Now the request has gone from system A to system B. Maybe system B also wants to send some data back to system A, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
But system B can only send in XML format, and system A can only accept in CSV format. So again, we have to do some conversion to do from XML to CSV to take care of this now right to left thing, correct? So all those so all these transformations we can do in Camel apart from exposing the interfaces. So Camel provides much more, in fact much more than that. You can also validate the data. So once you get the data from XML, how do you know whether it will convert correctly to CSV or not, whether it has all the fields or not. So you can convert, before conversion, you can validate using the XSD and check all the fields are coming. So that when you are converting into CSV, it is having the right field before you do the conversion. So many things we can do while doing the integration.
Okay.
So also what here we are talking is data format first. Like it is CSV, it is XML, and we have to do conversion between CSV and XML and CSV. Also, the other important thing in integration is system A is sending CSV, okay. System B is expecting XML, that's also fine. On what interface system A is sending data? How they are sending it out? Do they have any interface, or I have to create an interface on behalf of them? System A says I will be writing into a file, and then you pick it from there. So you need to define an interface where you will read from a file, and then you need to go and find out where system B is expecting the XML. Is it expecting a web service, or is it another file system? Is it a message broker? So we need to find those interface and then read the integration logic.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's about like finding the interface of the input and output, and then checking what is the data format of the input and output, and then writing the right integration logic to connect to this input interface, get the data from input interface. If you have to do any validation, do it. If you have to do any transformation like CSV to XML or vice versa, do that, and then connect to the external interface and then send the data. And then if there's so again, communication can be of multiple types, right? It can be a synchronous communication, it can be asynchronous communication. So if it is a synchronous communication, you will wait for response. If it is asynchronous communication, it's just fire and forget. You send the data and then you are not doing anything follow up on that. So depending on these systems, we have to figure out what is the mode of communication. If it is synchronous or asynchronous. If it is synchronous, what is the best integration interface we can use to connect? If it is asynchronous, what is the best interface we can use to connect? All those things we have to decide in Camel.
Yep.
Yeah. So for doing that, Camel provides a lot of components to you, which can behave nicely in synchronous way and asynchronous way. Camel gives you a broker message, JBoss broker component, so that if you want to send a data to a message broker like ActiveMQ or WebSphere or MSMQ or any other messaging broker, then you can use that. If you want to connect to web service, then it has components for SOAP web services and RESTful web services. So where you can connect to them and send or receive data. So all those things are provided by Camel. If it has components to connect to database, if you want to save some recorded database or if you want to extract something from the database, it has components to do that. So using those components, you can save a lot of time and just configure them and get the data. And once you get the data, as per the business requirement, you will be defining, after I get the data from database, what I have to do. So that is your logic, right? Completely your logic, what you want to do. After you get the data from web service, what you have to do. After you get the data from a queue, what you want to do. It's completely your logic, right?
Yeah. I mean, if it is really needed, otherwise, pass it on.
Most of the yes, exactly. So I have seen integrations like where we are reading from a file and sending it to a broker. That's all. No integration. Just connect to a file, give it to a broker. There, in between the input and output, there is no message transformation required, no validation required, no other data has to be added or deleted. So we were just connecting two systems. One system was sending a file, other system was expecting a broker, file message, queue message. So we read the file, convert into a queue message, send it to the queue. That's all. That was the integration. So it could be as simple as that, or as complex as reading an input, doing a validation, transforming into a different format, calling a web service, get another response, send it to another web service, then finally save it to database, like that. So many complexities. So anything is possible depending on the requirement.
Yeah, exactly. I understand. Yep.
Yeah. So during the session, we'll go over all these components, useful components. There are like 200 plus components, but we hardly use 20-25 components in a normal integration logic. So we'll go over those useful components, and we'll learn how to write the routes, how to make our routes reusable. Like you can write a route, very big route, and you can do everything in one part of the code. But suppose that tomorrow if you have to make a change, or tomorrow if you have to make some additional logic, then it will be difficult to maintain. So we'll understand when should we breaking our integration logic into multiple sections. So that if there is any useful logic, we can reuse it. We should be dividing into writing the main logic, and we should be writing into separate code so that we can reuse them like a function. Correct? Instead of writing everything in one class and making it a big khichdi, we should be making it modular so that we can reuse it later also, right? So we'll understand how to divide the integration logic into multiple sections, how to design our route and then make it reusable, and how to connect from one route to another route, and to make use of existing logic. So all those things we'll learn during the process.
Okay.
We'll also see how do we do the deployment in Fuse, because that's more important. You build application and then how do you deploy it in Fuse? So we'll see what are the various modes of deployment, like hot deployment. For testing purpose, you can do a hot deployment and quickly test your route. But if you go for production or UAT or integration, then you should be first deploying the route, deploying the application using some deployment descriptor. So all those things we'll learn. What are the various ways to do it, and how to, once you deploy the application, if you're lucky, it will run in one shot. But if you are having some problem in the deployment, how to debug those, how to find the route, right reason for a failure, how to find out that some dependencies are not there, and how to find that I have written some bug in my integration logic due to which it is not working. So all those things we'll discuss.
Great. Yeah.
So, like, what I've felt from my experiences with a good knowledge of Java, it is like easier to understand things and start in Camel, because it is using all the concepts of Java, and only thing is we're having some APIs which we're using to do our integration, and it is not very difficult to understand the routing part and integration part of Camel. It is most of things are like you feel like, oh, it's a common sense thing. So it is as simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, I support a lot of application development experience. I have it. At least I can understand the Camel, and at least and reading a lot of documents. So also. I was little confused with the broker message, especially for message queues or those kind of things. Other than that, we don't even go for active MQ, right? You know, that's what it is, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, Camel itself should able to route it and get back the response or give back the response. If other hand they want they developed in a MQ series or something like that, we should able to provide our response to put it in a MQ or something like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we'll see lot of examples on broker. So if you want to send data to a broker, then how to do that. If you want to read data from a broker, how to do that. If it is a broker is providing a queue, then how to do that. How to do that for a topic. What are the different modes of what are the different ways of creating a consumer, multiple consumers versus single consumer versus concurrent consumer, all those things. Durable subscriber, non-durable subscriber, all those things we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. Morely, I'm interested in this kind of a Camel only. The whole whatever you have, it is really nice. Apache Caras and and blueprints and CSFX. Yeah. What else covers up other than Camel? You said a lot of things, right?
So in Camel, a lot of things are there. We cover everything, all those exception handlings, testing and debugging, all the major components, EIPs, our integration patterns, and deployment process. All those things we'll be covering. Plus, we'll cover the Fuse installation and configuration, how to do the deployment in Fuse, what are the ways to do deployment in Fuse. Our application will be little different from the normal J2 applications. So we'll see first how we create the structure of those applications before, right? Because you need to know the structure, building blocks of the application, then you can build on top of it. So what is the basic structure? How do we build our application? Are you using Maven, Apache Maven for building your applications earlier?
Maven, right?
Yes. Are you using Maven?
Yeah. That is what discussion is going on in the design side. I don't know. It depends. Other than Maven, do we have an option? That's what we are expecting to go with that. But with the Fuse, do you have? Does it go with Ant? I don't think so, right?
No. Maven is the best with Fuse.
Okay. Maven is the only option you have it with the Fuse, right?
Yes. And I think for most of the Java application, Maven is the only option. Right? Ant is good, but I don't know how efficient it is compared to Maven. How better it can handle your dependencies.
Yeah, I use. I mean, at least I supported the and with the WebLogic thing, and we recently moving that project into Maven. But here in the new project, I don't know. The Fuse itself is new to me, and they don't have a Maven as of now. So we are as a recommendation says in the document, we are asking for the Maven. But is that possible? I don't know. That's what I'm looking for the options. Is that possible without a Maven? Also with other any tools? I don't know.
No, I think I have not used any other tool than Maven in Fuse. So I also cannot say. I think Maven is easy to integrate and it is very useful in doing the application build and maintaining the dependencies. So
okay. I don't know. Yeah, that's what we are still struggling to get that one. Maven is the one which is really needed. Yeah, that's why within this few weeks we should able to have it a good knowledge and have a hands-on experience on a few, one or two projects so that I can give the good output. Otherwise, that's my goal. But coming to a little bit, I mean, this looks okay. I mean, anything else you need to cover, or?
I think we'll be covering Fuse deployment and installation and configuration part. We'll cover Camel in details.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are the two things will be, and we also cover brokers, web services. We'll also see examples of SOAP and RESTful web services. So
yeah,
database,
yeah, I mean, you cover a little bit Hibernate also in that, right? How do I get, once I get a SOAP request or something like that as an input and convert into the bean and should able to. I did the JDBC connectivity, but not the Hibernate thing. You should able to do it, or that's a mapping, all the fields and how do you.
Yeah. So in Camel, there are multiple, for database, they have multiple support. They have a component for JDBC. They have a component, improved JDBC component that they call SQL. They have support for Hibernate and they have support for JPA. But Hibernate is something which is not out of the box supported in Fuse because of the licensing issues. So Camel has support for Hibernate, but it will not be provided as part of Camel or Fuse because of the licensing issues. So you cannot use Camel Hibernate directly into the Fuse. So you can use the normal Hibernate way. So you can write your application in Hibernate and deploy in Camel. But Camel has a component for directly providing Hibernate support, but which you cannot directly use because of the licensing issues.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see the other way, so we'll see other way, like we'll write our application in Hibernate and we'll see how to deploy it in Camel. That you can do.
Okay. The Hibernate also a little bit covers like at least fetch out or like inserts or something like that. At least few things where I can able to get few configuration settings and everything. That will be really great. Like other than that, I'm hardcore ProSig guy. I know how all the integrate works, but
sure.
You understand where I'm going from, right? I'm a core developer kind of a thing. I understand a lot of things here, but the thing is only the integrate how configuration wise Java has a lot of configuration, man. That's all. And I'm working hard to know a lot of things myself, but still, the helping hand and guru is a guru itself, right? The learning things always helps.
I can, definitely will help you in learning fast. So that's what I can say. During this discussion, I will also share the samples. Like we'll have some sample routes, sample Java board configurations. I'll be sharing all of them with you so that you can go back and check them later also. Plus, I'll be also sharing some useful links on some resources, where to read, where to go and read it. All those links I'll be sharing, so that instead of searching Google, you can go directly to the point, and then you can use.
I need really a good helping hand. That's what it is. That's because as of now, if you ask me, I deployed, I started Eclipse and downloaded, Maven, and I was able to build application and, move the files here and there, the example which I got it. But still, I want to explore a lot of things in the Camel so that I should able to comfortable make that everything possible. I don't have that database access either to make it out, but instead of reading it, if you are able to provide me much more in detail in the Camel, MQ series kind of a thing, that really helps. Not that, see, still how much you learn it is from the internet is something different from you guys have experience, right? The person who really teaches. That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think we have, in past, we had a lot of experience where people started new on Camel. Like there was some batch of 4 people, they started new on Camel, and the training goes for like 20-25 classes. So we were there almost for a month together, and then they, after going for 10 classes, they started their implementation also, and they were going for other classes. So in next 6 weeks, they were able to do the production deployment on Camel on Fuse. So within 6 weeks, they released the product also in production. After they started new with the training, and then they also started after going through Camel for once they got some understanding in Camel, they started the real project work also in parallel with the training. And next, I think 1.5 months, they were able to deploy to production also. So
I want to tell you one thing, if you don't mind. Somehow your voice is echoing sometimes. Is it something which I have the only thing, or you something is?
Your voice is coming to me very properly, and I'm using a headset, so it's not a speaker. So ideally should
not it's not a speaker, right? Okay. Yeah.
But I will check that if there's any speaker settings.
Yeah, because the continuous when you're speaking continuous, right? It is giving some kind of a amplifier, echo sound kind of a thing. Was not able to understand it. Yeah, that's one thing. But I'm really glad, man. That really, if 10 to 20 session, whatever it may be, it is make happens, and I see it might go extend because my questions are a little bit. Maybe a little bit. I'd really try to understand the things here. That's what it is. You have to bear with me, like sometimes,
Yeah, that is okay.
Because it's a new thing. That's what I'm a little bit. I just want to make it this project success, which is on my hand. So.
Yeah, sure.
So how
so
to?
If you do the extra reading in your free time, you can always come back with the questions or queries, and we'll discuss that in the next class. That's what we do.
I'm really glad you said that. How busy you, I don't know, but I'm really glad that you said that. Is there anybody else in the call or something? No, right?
Right now, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Shiva is there. I think he's the organizer, so you can discuss the logistics with him and let me know when we are able to start.
Yeah, who with Shiva, right?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, really nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Great.
Thanks. Thank you. Nice talking to you.